God's chosen ones, these are the 7 hardest spiritual tests meant to shape you. As one of God's chosen, you are called to walk a path unlike any other, a path filled with spiritual tests that push you beyond your limits. In this transformative video, we unveil the 7 hardest spiritual challenges you will face and show you how they are designed to prepare you for your divine destiny. These aren't punishments, they are powerful lessons that mold you into the person you're meant to become. Discover how each trial strengthens your faith, deepens your purpose, and equips you for the abundant life God has planned for you. If you've been searching for meaning in your struggles or need guidance to persevere, this video will awaken the spiritual warrior within you. Are you ready to rise above? Dive in now to uncover the hidden strength behind these trials and step boldly into your divine purpose. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more life-changing content on faith, self-development, and spiritual growth. Your journey to greatness begins today. Comment below. I embrace the challenges shaping me for God's plan and claim the strength to overcome. Let's embark on this journey together. Prepare to uncover the truth within yourself and step into the strength God has planted within you. The first test every chosen one faces is confronting the truth of who you really are. Over the years, we build personas, images shaped by societal roles, achievements, and relationships. These masks protect us, but eventually they must fall. To fulfill your divine purpose, you must strip away the falsehoods and stand bare before the mirror of truth. Who are you beyond your job title, possessions, and relationships? What remains when the accolades and labels disappear? Facing this truth is one of the most daunting spiritual challenges, yet it is also the most freeing. In the Bible, we see this struggle vividly in the story of Moses. As a prince of Egypt, he was defined by wealth and status. But when he fled into the wilderness, God called him to confront his true identity. Moses asked, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" Exodus 3:11. This pivotal moment stripped away Moses' illusions and revealed his calling as a leader. Like Moses, you are being invited to see yourself through God's eyes. This process is unsettling, even terrifying, but necessary. Without the weight of false identities, you'll uncover your divine gifts and purpose. Will you dare to confront your true self? This is the foundation of your journey as a chosen one, a test of honesty and courage. If you face it, you will step forward, not as who the world has told you to be, but as who God created you to be. The second test is the test of isolation. In a world that thrives on distractions, being alone, truly alone, can feel unbearable. But this test isn't about loneliness. It's about being stripped of external influences to hear God's voice and rediscover your purpose. Think of Jesus in the wilderness, fasting for 40 days and nights, Matthew 4:1-11. This period of isolation was not punishment, it was preparation. Away from the noise of the world, Jesus faced temptations head-on and emerged stronger in his mission. For you, isolation might look like a season of unanswered prayers, loss, or distance from familiar comforts. It's in these quiet moments that God speaks most clearly. He's asking, "Can you trust me when no one else is around?" Use this time to deepen your relationship with God. Isolation is not abandonment, it's an invitation to grow closer to Him. The third test is waiting. In our fast-paced world, waiting can feel like torture, but for the chosen, it's a lesson in trust and patience. Abraham waited decades for the fulfillment of God's promise to make him the father of many nations, Genesis 12-21. Joseph endured years of slavery and imprisonment before his dream of leadership came true, Genesis 37-41. During the wait, doubts creep in. Will God come through? Is the promise real? The chosen are called to hold on to faith, trusting that God's timing is perfect. Waiting is not wasted time. It's the season where God prepares you for what's ahead. The fourth test is surrender. This is one of the hardest for the chosen because it requires relinquishing control and trusting God completely. Think of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, praying, "Not my will, but yours be done." Luke 22:42. In that moment, Jesus surrendered everything, his fears, his desires, and his very life to God's greater plan. Surrendering doesn't mean giving up. It means letting God take the lead. When you let go of control, you make space for His miracles to unfold. The fifth test is perseverance. The path of the chosen is not easy, and you will face challenges that test your faith and endurance. But these trials are meant to strengthen you, not destroy you. James 1:2-4 reminds us, Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Every hardship is a stepping stone. Keep moving forward, even when the road is tough. The sixth test is faith. Faith is believing in what you cannot see and trusting in God's promises, even when circumstances seem impossible. Hebrews 11:1 defines faith as the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For the chosen, faith is the foundation of their journey. It's what keeps you anchored when the storm rages around you. The seventh and final test is stepping into your purpose. After enduring the refining process, the chosen are called to live boldly in alignment with their divine mission. This is where everything comes together. The hardships, the isolation, the waiting, all of it has prepared you for this moment. Now it's time to step forward with courage and fulfill the calling God has placed on your life. These tests are not punishments, they are preparations. You are being refined, strengthened, and shaped for a purpose greater than you can imagine. So embrace the journey. Stand firm in your faith. Trust in God's plan. You are not alone, and your trials are not in vain. You are chosen, and your best days are ahead. Are you ready to walk this path with faith, courage, and surrender? Let's rise together. The world is waiting for the light only you can bring. Have you ever felt as though life's challenges are uniquely tailored to you? Like the trials you face are heavier than most could endure? This isn't a coincidence. It's a calling. The burdens you bear are not random. They are designed to shape and prepare you for an extraordinary purpose. Today we'll delve into the profound test that every chosen one must face. These tests are not here to destroy you, but to refine you. They are the divine tools God uses to mold you into the person you were always destined to be. Each test demands not just perseverance, but faith, courage, and a willingness to surrender to God's will. As we embark on this journey, I invite you to reflect deeply. Could your hardships be part of a greater plan, preparing you for something beyond your imagination? Let's uncover the truth together. One of the most profound challenges the chosen face is the test of isolation. In a world filled with endless noise, distractions, and external validation, being alone, truly alone, can feel unsettling, even unbearable. Yet isolation isn't a punishment, it's a sacred opportunity. Isolation removes the distractions that keep you from fully seeing yourself. Social media, work, and even the well-meaning voices of loved ones can drown out the whispers of God. When these external noises fade, you're left with nothing but your thoughts, your fears, and your deepest truths. For many, this silence is uncomfortable. It forces them to confront parts of themselves they've avoided for years. But in this quiet lies a gift, the voice of God and the clarity of your divine calling. The story of Jesus in the wilderness offers a powerful example. Then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. After fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. Matthew 4:1-2. Alone and vulnerable, Jesus faced immense trials, yet it was in this isolation that he found clarity and strength for his mission. Like Jesus, your period of isolation is not meant to break you, but to prepare you. In the quiet, you'll face your fears and doubts, but more importantly, you'll hear God's reassuring voice. Are you willing to embrace the silence? Can you sit with yourself and truly listen? This test isn't about being physically alone, it's about creating space in your soul to hear what truly matters. The next challenge every chosen one faces is letting go. This test strikes at the core of our humanity, our need to control, to hold tightly to what feels familiar or safe. Letting go is not easy. It requires trust in God's plan and the courage to release what no longer serves you. We cling to relationships, expectations, and even fears, believing they define us. But these attachments can become chains, weighing us down and keeping us from stepping into our divine purpose. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means surrendering to the belief that God's plan is greater than anything we can imagine. Consider the story of Abraham. God called him to leave everything he knew, his home, his people, and his comforts, for an unknown land. Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. Genesis 12:1. Abraham didn't have a roadmap, but he trusted God and obeyed. His willingness to let go paved the way for the fulfillment of God's promises. What are you holding on to that God is asking you to release? Trust that when you let go, you make room for something greater. Faith is the cornerstone of the chosen one's journey. It's the ability to trust in God's promises, Even when circumstances seem impossible, faith is not passive. It's an active, unwavering belief in the unseen. In Hebrews 11:1, we're reminded, "Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see." Faith is what sustained Noah as he built the ark before the rains came. It's what empowered David to face Goliath with nothing but a sling and a stone. Faith is what will carry you through when the road ahead is unclear. Will you trust in God's timing and His promises, even when doubt creeps in? The path of the chosen is not without hardship. Perseverance is a test of endurance, requiring you to press on even when the odds are stacked against you. James 1:2-4 encourages us, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Every trial you endure is shaping you, strengthening you, and preparing you for the next phase of your journey. The ultimate test for the chosen is stepping into your purpose. After enduring the refining process, you're called to walk boldly in alignment with God's plan for your life. This step requires courage and faith. It's the moment when everything you've faced comes full circle, and you realize that your trials were preparing you for this exact moment. Moses, hesitant and unsure, stepped into his purpose when he led the Israelites out of Egypt. Esther, despite her fear, embraced her calling to save her people, saying, "If I perish, I perish." Esther 4:16. Now it's your turn. Will you step into the purpose God has prepared for you? The path of the chosen is not for the faint of heart. It is a journey of faith, courage, and surrender, but it's also a journey of profound transformation and fulfillment. Your isolation is not punishment, it's preparation. Your hardships are not random, they're refining you. And your tests are not without purpose, they're aligning you with your divine calling. Will you rise to the challenge? Will you trust in the process and step into the extraordinary life God has planned for you? Take a deep breath. Embrace the silence. Let go of what holds you back and step forward in faith. You are chosen, and the best is yet to come. Life often places us on paths we cannot fully understand. These moments of uncertainty, pain, and transformation are not random. They are divine appointments orchestrated by God to prepare us for something far greater than we can imagine. For the chosen, these trials are sacred tests, designed not to harm but to mold us, stripping away what hinders and drawing us closer to our true purpose. As we explore these tests, I invite you to pause and reflect. What if the very challenges you face are the keys to unlocking the extraordinary life God has planned for you? Letting go is one of the hardest lessons for any believer, yet it is one of the most crucial. It's a test of faith that asks us to relinquish control and trust that God's plan is greater than our own. We often cling to relationships, dreams, or even fears, thinking they define us or give us security. But these attachments can become chains, weighing us down and keeping us from stepping into the fullness of our divine calling. Letting go is not an act of giving up. It is an act of surrendering to God's greater plan. Consider Abraham. In Genesis 12:1, God said to him, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you." Abraham didn't know where he was going or what awaited him, but he trusted God and obeyed. This act of faith required immense courage and a willingness to leave behind everything familiar. Letting go is not a one-time act. It's a daily decision to release our grip on what we cannot control. It's choosing to trust that even in uncertainty, God is working all things together for our good. The hardest part of this test is releasing our attachment to outcomes. We often envision how life should unfold, and when reality doesn't align, we resist. But true freedom comes when we let go of the need to control. Surrender creates space for divine intervention, allowing God to work in ways beyond our understanding. Ask yourself, what are you holding on to that no longer serves you? What beliefs, relationships, or fears are weighing you down? Are you willing to release them even if it feels uncomfortable or frightening? The chosen understand that letting go is not about loss, but gain. It is about trusting that what remains is what truly matters, and what leaves was never meant to stay. The dark night of the soul is perhaps the most harrowing test of all. It is not merely a moment of hardship, but a complete unraveling, a breaking apart of everything you thought you knew about yourself, your faith, and the world. In this season, you may feel abandoned by God. Relationships may crumble, careers may falter, and your sense of purpose may seem to evaporate. You may cry out like Jesus in Gethsemane, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death." Matthew 26:38. This test plunges you into the depths of despair, stripping away every illusion and attachment that clouds your vision of who you truly are. Yet this darkness is not a punishment, it is a purification. It destroys the ego, the part of us that clings to control and worldly validation, and creates space for the light of God to shine through. The Bible is filled with stories of those who endured their own dark nights. Moses wandered the wilderness for 40 years, questioning his purpose. Job lost everything, yet held on to his faith. These moments of deep despair were not the end, but the beginning of their transformation. During your dark night, you may feel like the pain is endless. But remember this, the darkness is temporary. It is a process, not a destination. The key to enduring is surrender. You must surrender your need to understand why this is happening and trust that God's plan is at work, even when you cannot see it. The chosen ones walk through the darkness not because they are unafraid, but because they trust that the light is still there, even when it cannot be seen. Faith is the foundation of every trial. It is the ability to trust in God's promises, even when circumstances seem impossible. Faith is not passive. It is an active declaration that God is good even in the midst of uncertainty. In Hebrews 11:1 we read, "Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see." This confidence sustained Noah as he built the ark before the rains came. It empowered David to face Goliath and gave Esther the courage to risk her life for her people. Faith asks you to trust that the seeds of today's pain will bloom into tomorrow's purpose. Can you believe that God is working even when the evidence is not yet visible? Every trial leads to this final test, stepping into your purpose. After the refining fire of isolation, letting go, and the dark night of the soul, you are called to rise and walk boldly in your divine calling. This test is not without its challenges. Stepping into your purpose often requires you to face fears, break old patterns, and embrace a new identity. Like Moses, who hesitated when God called him to lead the Israelites, or Gideon, who doubted his worthiness, you may feel unprepared. But remember, God does not call the qualified, He qualifies the called. The chosen understand that their trials were not in vain. Every tear, every struggle, and every moment of despair was preparing them for this exact moment. The path of the chosen is not easy, but it is sacred. It requires faith, courage, and surrender. It demands that you trust God's plan, even when the road ahead is unclear. Your trials are not here to destroy you, they are here to refine you. Your isolation is not punishment, it is preparation. Your pain is not meaningless, it is the birthplace of purpose. Are you ready to embrace the journey? To let go of what holds you back and step into the extraordinary life God has prepared for you? Take heart, dear chosen one. The trials you face today are preparing you for the blessings of tomorrow. Trust the process, embrace the journey, and remember, the best is yet to come. You are not alone, you are chosen, and God is with you every step of the way. Life often brings moments when the ground beneath you feels like it's crumbling, leaving you grappling with doubt, pain, and uncertainty. Yet, for those chosen by God, these trials are not random. They are divine tests, sacred opportunities for growth, refinement, and preparation for a purpose far greater than you can imagine. The tests of faith are not designed to break you, but to transform you. They are tools in the hands of a loving Creator, shaping you into a vessel fit for His divine calling. Let's explore these profound tests and how they call you to rise above, surrender control, and trust in God's perfect plan. There comes a time in every believer's life when they are plunged into a season of profound darkness, the dark night of the soul. This is not merely a period of hardship, but a complete dismantling of everything you thought you knew about yourself, your faith, and the world. During this test, it may feel as though God is silent, as if the light of hope has been extinguished. Relationships fall apart, dreams collapse, and the path ahead becomes shrouded in uncertainty. You might ask, why is this happening? Where is God in all of this? But here's the profound truth. The dark night is not punishment, it is preparation. It is a divine process designed to strip away the illusions, fears, and attachments that hinder your growth. In this season, God is not absent. He is working in the unseen, refining you like gold in the fire. This is the test that Moses endured as he wandered the wilderness for 40 years, questioning his purpose. It is the test that Jesus faced in Gethsemane, where he cried out, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death." Matthew 26:38. These moments of profound despair were not the end, but the beginning of transformation. The dark night requires you to surrender your desire to control the outcome and trust that even in suffering, there is a divine purpose at work. It asks for faith, the kind of faith that believes the light is still there, even when you cannot see it. Are you willing to endure the darkness, trusting that it is leading you to the light? Can you let go of your fear and allow the transformation to unfold? This test is not easy, but it is essential. It is the crucible where God molds you into the person He created you to be. Faith is the cornerstone of the Christian journey. It is not simply a belief in God, but a deep, unwavering trust in His promises, even when everything around you suggests otherwise. The test of faith often comes in moments of immense difficulty, when life falls apart and you are left questioning everything. Perhaps you've experienced loss, betrayal, or financial ruin, and it feels as though the very foundations of your life are crumbling. In these moments, the question arises, can you trust in God's plan, even when you cannot see it? Faith is not blind optimism. It is not pretending everything is fine when it is not. Faith is the assurance that God is working all things together for your good, Romans 8:28, even when the evidence is not yet visible. Consider Abraham, who was asked to sacrifice his son Isaac, the very son through whom God had promised to fulfill His covenant. In Genesis 22:8, Abraham declares, God Himself will provide the lamb. Abraham didn't know how the situation would resolve, but he trusted in God's faithfulness, and in the end, God provided. Or think of Job, who lost everything, his wealth, his family, his health. Despite his suffering, he proclaimed, though He slay me, yet will I hope in Him. Job 13:15. Job's unwavering faith carried him through unimaginable pain, and ultimately he was restored and blessed beyond measure. Faith doesn't mean the absence of doubt. It means choosing to move forward despite it. It is the anchor that holds you steady when the storms of life threaten to overwhelm you. One of the greatest challenges in life is letting go, releasing control and trusting that God's plan is better than our own. As humans, we often cling to our desires, relationships, and expectations, believing they will bring us security. But sometimes, what we hold on to becomes the very thing that holds us back. Letting go is not about giving up. It is about surrendering to God's will. It is trusting that His ways are higher than ours, Isaiah 55:8-9, and that He sees the bigger picture when we cannot. This is the test that Abraham faced when he left everything familiar to follow God's call to an unknown land, Genesis 12:1. It is the test that Jesus demonstrated in Gethsemane when He prayed, not my will, but yours be done, Luke 22:42. Letting go requires immense courage. It asks you to release your grip on what you cannot control and open yourself to the possibilities that God has prepared for you. Ask yourself, what are you holding on to that is weighing you down? Are you willing to release it, even if it feels uncomfortable or frightening? When you surrender, you create space for God's blessings to enter your life. Every test you face is part of a divine plan to prepare you for your calling. The pain you endure is not meaningless. It is the soil in which God plants seeds of purpose, strength, and wisdom. The Bible reminds us in James 1:2-4. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. God is not interested in making your life easy. He is interested in making your life meaningful. The tests you face are opportunities for growth, transformation, and alignment with His will. You are not alone in your journey. Every tear, every struggle, every moment of doubt is known to God. He sees your pain, and He is using it to prepare you for something greater. The path of the chosen is not easy, but it is sacred. It requires faith, courage, and surrender. It calls you to rise above your fears and trust that God is with you every step of the way. So I ask you, are you ready to embrace the journey, to let go of what holds you back, and step into the extraordinary life God has prepared for you? Take heart, dear chosen one. The trials you face today are forging you into the person God created you to be. Trust the process, keep the faith, and remember, your best days are ahead, and the light is waiting to guide you through the shadows. Life is full of moments when everything seems to fall apart, dreams shatter, relationships unravel, and plans dissolve into chaos. Yet, even in the darkest times, there is a still, small voice that whispers, "Keep going, don't give up." That voice is faith. It's the divine reminder that you are not alone, that God is with you, guiding and sustaining you, even when you cannot see it. For the chosen ones, those called to a higher purpose, this journey of faith is marked by tests designed to refine and strengthen their spirit. These trials are not meant to destroy, but to transform, preparing them for the destiny God has planned. Faith is not about having all the answers. It's about trusting God even when life feels uncertain. It's about taking the next step, believing the road will appear, even when you can't see it. The chosen ones endure this test, not because they are immune to fear or doubt, but because they choose to trust despite it. Consider the question, how strong is your faith? Can you hold on to it when your world is crumbling? Can you trust God's promises when everything visible seems hopeless? These are the profound questions that arise during the test of faith. Faith is not blind optimism or pretending life is perfect. It's the unshakable conviction that every joy, sorrow, triumph, and trial is part of God's divine plan. Each moment is working together for your good. Romans 8:28. With every step of trust, even when it feels impossible, your faith grows stronger, and with that strength comes peace. The Bible is filled with stories of those who faced this test of faith and emerged victorious. Take Abraham, who waited decades for God's promise of a son, only to be asked to sacrifice Isaac, the very child who represented that promise. In that heart-wrenching moment, Abraham chose surrender and trust. He said, "God himself will provide the lamb," Genesis 22:8. And God did. Or reflect on Job, who lost everything, his wealth, family, and health. Yet he declared, "Though he slay me, yet will I hope in him." Job 13:15. Job's faith wasn't the absence of pain. It was a deliberate choice to trust God through the suffering, and in the end, God restored him beyond measure. These examples remind us that faith doesn't eliminate doubt, it conquers it. Faith means choosing to believe, even when it's hard. It's trusting that the light will return, even in the darkest night. Perhaps the most profound challenge for the chosen ones is the test of surrender. This test asks you to relinquish control, to let go of the need to dictate outcomes, and to trust completely in God's plan. Surrender is not weakness. It's an act of profound strength. It requires courage to release your grip on the wheel and trust that God will guide you even when you can't see the road ahead. Abraham's story in Genesis 22 is a powerful example of surrender. After years of waiting for a child, he was asked to sacrifice Isaac, the very fulfillment of God's promise. This request tested Abraham's understanding of God's plan, yet he trusted God completely. As he prepared to obey, God intervened, saying, "Do not lay a hand on the boy. Now I know that you fear God." Genesis 22:12. Abraham's surrender wasn't about giving up, it was about giving over. He placed his trust entirely in God, and through that act, his faith was perfected. One of the greatest barriers to surrender is the ego, the part of us that clings to control and resists change. The ego tells us that letting go is dangerous, that holding on is the only way to stay secure, but this is a lie. Imagine holding onto a rope so tightly that your hands bleed. You're convinced that if you let go, you'll fall. But what if letting go is the only way to set yourself free? Surrender is not about losing power. It's about stepping into the true power that comes from aligning with God's will. Even Jesus faced this test in the Garden of Gethsemane. As he prayed, knowing the cross awaited, he said, Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." Luke 22:42. In his moment of greatest vulnerability, Jesus surrendered completely, trusting God's plan for the redemption of humanity. When you surrender, you stop resisting life and start embracing God's divine flow. You let go of your attachment to specific outcomes and trust that God is working all things together for your good. Surrender doesn't mean passivity or inaction. It means aligning your actions with faith and trust. It's about releasing fear and embracing the mystery of God's unfolding plan. It's about saying, "Not my will, but yours be done," and finding peace in that submission. What are you holding on to that God is asking you to release? Is it a relationship, a dream, a fear, or a false sense of control? When you let go, you create space for God's blessings to flow into your life. Every trial, every heartbreak, every test has a purpose. God is not wasting your pain. He is using it to shape you, refine you, and prepare you for the incredible destiny He has planned. James 1:2-4 reminds us, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." For your trials are not the end of your story. They are the beginning of your transformation. To the chosen ones reading this, you are not alone. Every tear, every struggle, every step of faith is seen by God. He is with you, walking beside you, carrying you when you feel too weak to go on. Your journey is sacred. It's a journey of faith, surrender, and divine purpose. It requires courage, but it also brings the promise of transformation and fulfillment. So, take heart. Trust in God's timing, release your fears, and remember the light will always return. Your best days are not behind you, they are ahead. Stay faithful, stay strong, and keep moving forward. You were chosen for such a time as this, and God is preparing you for a destiny greater than anything you can imagine. Life often feels like a series of challenges, each demanding more from us than the last. We wrestle with uncertainty, hold on to dreams, and question the purpose of our trials. Yet in the quiet moments of reflection, a whisper arises from deep within. Let go, trust, surrender. This is the call of faith, the journey of the chosen ones, those destined for a divine purpose. It is a path that demands courage, resilience, and a willingness to see beyond the immediate. At its heart lies a series of profound spiritual tests: faith, surrender, and awakening. To surrender is not to give up. It is to release the tight grip of control and open your hands to receive God's grace. It means letting go of your own plans, expectations, and fears, trusting that God's design is far greater than anything you could imagine. But surrendering is one of life's hardest lessons. The ego clings tightly to its sense of control, convincing you that letting go is a form of failure. Yet imagine holding a rope so tightly that your hands bleed. You believe that releasing it will lead to your fall, but in truth, letting go is the only way to find freedom. The Bible offers a powerful example of surrender in Abraham's willingness to offer his son Isaac. After years of waiting for God's promise to be fulfilled, Abraham was asked to sacrifice the very blessing he had received. Yet, he trusted God completely. At the critical moment, God intervened, saying, "Do not lay a hand on the boy. Now I know that you fear God." Genesis 22:12. Abraham's act of surrender wasn't about loss, but about alignment with God's will. His story teaches us that surrendering doesn't mean abandoning action, but embracing divine guidance over personal control. You know you've surrendered when peace begins to replace your inner turmoil. It's the moment you can genuinely say, "I trust that whatever happens is for my highest good." This doesn't mean life will always be easy, but it does mean you've aligned yourself with God's flow. True surrender often involves releasing the stories and beliefs that no longer serve you. Perhaps you've been holding on to a vision of how your life should look, a fear of failure, or a relationship that feels essential to your happiness. Letting go of these attachments makes space for God's miracles to unfold. When you pass the test of surrender, you enter a state of spiritual flow. Life no longer feels like a constant struggle, but becomes a graceful dance. Each step is guided, each moment infused with purpose. Even Jesus faced the ultimate test of surrender in the Garden of Gethsemane. As he prayed before his crucifixion, he said, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me. Yet not my will, but yours be done." Luke 22:42. Jesus' prayer wasn't an act of weakness, but a profound demonstration of trust. He surrendered not because the path was easy, but because he knew it was necessary for God's greater plan. His surrender brought redemption and salvation to humanity. If surrender is the act of letting go, awakening is the moment of divine realization. It is when the veil is lifted and you see clearly how every trial, every heartbreak, and every moment of joy has been part of a divine tapestry. Awakening is not about learning something new. It's about remembering what has always been true. You are not separate from God. You are an integral part of His plan. Consider Joseph's story. Betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery and later imprisoned, Joseph endured years of suffering. Yet when he rose to power in Egypt, he was able to look back on his journey with clarity, saying, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Genesis 50:20. Joseph's awakening allowed him to see his trials not as punishments, but as preparation. His pain had a purpose, and his hardships were steps on the path to his destiny. Similarly, your moments of heartbreak, loss, and confusion are not wasted. They are part of God's plan, shaping you for the purpose He has set before you. Awakening transforms the way you view your life. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and begin asking, "What is God teaching me through this?" This shift in perspective is the key to unlocking the power of your trials. Every struggle becomes a lesson. Every heartbreak becomes a doorway to deeper faith. Every loss becomes an opportunity to trust God's provision. As you awaken, you realize that even in the darkest moments, God has been with you, guiding you toward your divine purpose. The test of awakening requires letting go of everything you thought you knew about yourself and the world. It asks you to release the false identities, fears, and limiting beliefs that have held you back. This is not easy, but it is necessary. As you awaken, you begin to see life with spiritual clarity. You recognize that every challenge has been a brushstroke in the masterpiece of your life. Nothing is random and nothing is wasted. To the chosen ones reading this, know that your journey is sacred. Every trial you face, every step you take in faith, is leading you closer to God's ultimate plan for your life. Are you holding on to something that no longer serves you? A fear, a dream, or a belief about who you are? It's time to let go. Surrender it to God and trust that He will replace it with something far greater. When you surrender, you step into freedom. When you awaken, you step into clarity. Together, these steps lead you to the peace that surpasses all understanding and the purpose God has prepared for you. You are not alone. You are supported, guided, and deeply loved. The path of the chosen ones is not without challenges, but it is filled with divine purpose and promise. So take heart, trust the journey, and remember, God's plans for you are always for good, to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. Your story is just beginning. Awakening is not about becoming someone entirely new. It's about uncovering the truth of who you've always been. It is the moment when you realize that you are not just a human being navigating challenges, but a divine creation, walking a sacred path. This awakening invites you to shift your perspective. It asks you to stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and instead recognize your role as a co-creator in God's grand design. With this realization comes a powerful truth. Your thoughts, beliefs, and actions shape your reality, and by aligning them with God's will, you can transform your life. The Bible offers us a profound example of awakening in the story of Paul. On the road to Damascus, Paul, then a persecutor of Christians, was blinded by a light from heaven. He heard the voice of Jesus calling him to a higher purpose. That moment changed everything for Paul. No longer did he see himself as the enforcer of old laws. Instead, he awakened to his divine calling as a servant of Christ. Paul didn't become someone new. He discovered who he was always meant to be. From that point forward, he embraced his purpose with unwavering faith and became one of the most influential apostles in history, Acts 9:3-6. The test of awakening is the moment when you see the divine light that resides within you, the same light that guided Paul, Joseph, and countless others throughout history. This light is not just a part of you, it is your essence, a reflection of God's infinite presence. When you awaken to this truth, you understand that your journey has never been about reaching a worldly destination. It has always been about discovering the divine purpose God has planted within you. Awakening is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of a new chapter. Once you see the truth of your divine purpose, you cannot return to the way things were. The illusions that once held you back, the need for control, fear of the unknown, and reliance on external validation, lose their power. In this new state of awareness, you trust fully in God's plan. Even when the road ahead seems uncertain, you stop seeking approval from others because you understand your worth comes from God alone. You embrace life as it unfolds, knowing it is perfectly aligned with your ultimate purpose. Awakening is the culmination of every trial and test you've faced. It brings clarity to your struggles and reveals their deeper meaning. Consider the story of Joseph. Betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery and imprisoned, Joseph endured years of hardship. Yet, when he rose to power in Egypt, he recognized God's hand in his journey. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives, Joseph told his brothers, Genesis 50:20. Awakening allows you to see your own journey with similar clarity. You realize that every setback, was a setup for your success, every heartbreak a lesson, and every moment of doubt an opportunity to strengthen your faith. Awakening asks you to take responsibility for your life. It's the moment when you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and instead ask, "What is God teaching me through this?" This shift in perspective is not just empowering, it's liberating. You begin to see that God has been with you every step of the way, guiding you closer to your divine purpose. Awakening transforms how you live each day. In this state, you walk with gratitude and wonder, knowing that every moment is an opportunity to express God's love and purpose. You stop striving to control outcomes and start embracing the beauty of life as it is. This doesn't mean your journey becomes easy. Challenges will still arise, but you will face them with a newfound strength. You'll no longer fear the unknown because you trust that God's plan is always for your good. Jeremiah 29:11. To awaken is to step into the fullness of your divine purpose. It is the ultimate test for those who are called, the chosen ones. If you've made it this far enduring life's trials and tests, then you are already among the chosen. But the journey doesn't end here. Awakening is not a destination, it is a way of being. It is a state of awareness that transforms your life into a living testimony of God's grace. Are you ready to awaken? Let me ask you, are you ready to see the truth of who you are? Are you ready to embrace the light within and step boldly into the life God has called you to live? This is not a path of ease, but it is a path of profound transformation and ultimate freedom. Awakening requires courage, faith, and a willingness to let go of old beliefs and step into the unknown. But when you awaken, you will find that the destination you've been searching for was never outside of you. It has been within you all along. You are chosen, you are loved, you are called. The time to awaken is now. Will you step into the light? Will you embrace your divine purpose and live the life you were always meant to live? This is your moment. Trust the journey and know that God walks with you every step of the way.